Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody this morning? Hope everybody's well. Right. So I'm going to do something a little bit different this morning, and it might come across as a little bit dark and a little bit depressing for the first bit of the show, but we'll end on a high because we always end on a high. So I'm going to obviously start with a bit of the Bible. And every time I start doing Bible stuff, people always say to me, will you read from the book of Revelation? So what I'm going to do this morning, I'm going to read from the book of Revelation. I'm just going to read very, very short verse. Okay. Or a couple of short, just one or two short verses. And then I'm going to play a little trailer for a film that was on Netflix, that's still on Netflix, that we're going to talk about a little bit. And it's one of those ones. I'm not even sure if I should do it, but I'm going to do it because I think it's important that we have information about everything, not just nice things, not just things that affect us locally, but information about everything. So I'm going to read three verses, I suppose, three verses from the book of Revelations, and starting halfway through verse 7 of chapter 20. Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to the battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about. That's the church. Okay, so they surrounded the Christians, they surrounded the church, and the beloved city. I can only think that is Jerusalem. This is the very, very end of time. We don't know when this is going to be. We haven't got a crystal ball. We can't see into the future. But this is talking about the very, very end of time. And this, of course, was written, 2,000 years ago? So they went up on the breadth of the earth, that compassed the camp of the saints about. In other words, surrounded the church, surrounded the beloved city, surrounded Jerusalem. And then it says this: and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are. I believe the false prophet's Muhammad, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And then we go into the great white throne judgment, and etc., etc. So I'm gonna leave that reading there. Obviously, that reading is about some sort of cataclysmic last battle in the history of planet Earth. The Bible says fire came down from heaven and devoured them. Now, a lot of speculators, I'm going to call them commentators, a lot of speculators have speculated whether that's a nuclear war that the Bible's talking about there. It is possible that something like that happens. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, because I think any speculation on that can lead to all sorts of problems. I'm getting like Paul burping on the channel. So this is what I do think we can say for sure, that there will be a great end times war against the Christian church, and however big or however small the Christian church is at that stage, again, is open to speculation. I personally believe there's going to be a great revival. I believe there's going to be millions of people swept into the kingdom, and that's the sort of last blast, and then all the Jewish people get saved, and then there is this cataclysmic battle, and the Lord comes back. Now, I could be wrong on that. You know, the full number of the Gentiles could have already come in. We're waiting for the full number of the Jewish people to come in, which we don't know how many of that is. So there's a lot of speculation on all of these things, okay? But what we do know is that there is an end coming. According to the Bible, this temporal, physical world that we all know and that we love, and we love everybody in it, or we love all our friends and families, and it is coming to an end, and it's going to come to a very sudden end, and a very violent end, and then we're into the final judgment, and the Lord comes back, physically returns to planet Earth. So I'm going to play this again, not saying that this will happen, because I am absolutely not a prophet or the son of a prophet, as I said many times before, but I do see things in Scripture which would suggest there is going to be a great battle at the end of time, and would suggest there's going to be destruction on a global scale. So I'm going to play this little video, and I think it's something for us to pray about. I don't think this scenario is going to play out exactly as the show on Netflix showed, but this little clip is a trailer for the film House of Dynamite, which is currently showing on Netflix. And again, once I played it, you'll get what it's about. Okay. And again, guys, I don't want to scare people this morning. Okay. I don't want to be upsetting people this morning, but what we do know is the Lord is coming back, and it is going to be a complete overturning of the tables. And that's what the Bible teaches. Everything's going to be put right, but there's going to be a lot of chaos and violence in the lead up to that, or that's how it would appear. But this could all happen very suddenly. So I'm going to play this video, and again, I want us to be thoughtful when we look at this. Again, it's based on, well, I'll show you the video and I'll talk about it a little bit, okay?
Oh, it's thought just being ready is the point. Oh, it's thought just being ready is the point.
Hang on, guys, bear with me. Let me just see if this is playing on my channel. A couple of people in the chat said they couldn't see the video, so I'm just going to see what's going on here. Okay, got it, guys. Right, that's okay. Sort that out. Just let me know if you can see that now. Okay, let's have a look. So you get the idea, guys. Now, I read a book last year, and I did a few videos on it last year. I'm not sure if anyone was watching my channel then, but I read a book last year by a woman called Annie Jacobsen called Nuclear War. And first thing about this film, and I am going to do a little bit of a review on it, and again, just some of my thoughts. When I was a kid, before I basically went in the military, before I found Jesus and found Christianity, I was always horrified and fascinated in equal measure by the idea of a nuclear war. I don't know if you remember the little films. There was a little sort of cartoon version of what would happen in a nuclear war. There was all these silly little bits of advice that used to float about in the 1980s. Of course, it had been going on since the 1960s, or really since the 1950s. There'd been this idea of mutually assured destruction. And then, obviously, the Berlin Wall came down. Everybody thought that history had ended and this would never happen. And the kind of panic was over. And do you know what, Julie? This is very important. God is in control. We've got to understand God's in control. And a couple of things on this idea of nuclear war, what they used to call a nuclear holocaust. And it would be the Holocaust in the Second World War was probably the most evil act in human history, but this would be far worse. And I think from my point of view, there is something totally immoral and totally evil, and it shows the full wickedness of human nature, that we have created nuclear weapons, not just created them, that we've done very little to get rid of them. And the premise of this film is, I'm not going to spoil the film in telling you this because it's pretty much there in the trailer. The premise of this film is that there is a weapon fired from somewhere in the Pacific. The United States of America aren't quite where it was fired from. Yeah, if you, Farty Pants, if you know Annie Jacobson, listen to her book on Audible. I bought the book at an airport, and I also bought the audio book as well, so I read it and listened to it. Listen to her book called Nuclear War. It was published last year, and the premise of this sort of dramatized, it's not a documentary, it's a film, it's a fictional film, of this film is very similar to Annie Jacobson's book, and the ending is slightly different. I'm not going to tell you how the book ended, which is also fictional based on fact, but the ending is different. And this film, I think, is well worth watching. But the premise is this: that this nuclear weapon has been launched from the Pacific. In the book, it was launched from North Korea, and obviously North Korea became the target. I'm not going to say any more than that. And the book goes into a lot more detail, and the book is a lot more, I think, frightening than the film. The film is very tense and very nervous. The book is absolutely terrifying because it goes into graphic detail about what happens in the event of a nuclear strike. And I think it's interesting to remember that the only two uses in anger of nuclear weapons were by the Americans against Japan. So the Americans have been known to be trigger happy in the past, and that's all I'm going to say. But so this weapon gets fired. And like I say, this isn't going to spoil the film. They try to shoot it down with a missile defense system, and the missile defense system malfunctions. And well, it doesn't malfunction; it just misses. Because as Jacobson said in the book, and as the experts were saying years ago, it's like hitting a bullet with a bullet. Now we've seen in Israel, when Israel was attacked by Iran, some of the ballistic missiles got through. So Israel has the most sophisticated missile defense system anywhere on the planet, and some of their missiles got through. Now, I am going to look on, probably ask Gemini or ChatGPT or one of the AI models, what missile defense system does the United Kingdom have? I don't think we've got any, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we've got 70,000 soldiers now, or something ridiculous. So, guys, I know. Listen, I mean, the thing is, I've kind of looked at this for years. So, when people, if you don't look at this and you kind of it drops into your lap, it can be very, very overwhelming. Especially, I'm going to lose viewers just publishing things like this, aren't I? But I've got to do what I got to do. Yeah, we got Trident is a deterrent. It's not a missile defense system. So what you need is something like Jacob's Sling or the other stuff that the Israelis have got, where they can just shoot these things out of the sky. But even with their capabilities, they didn't shoot down all the ballistic missiles that came in from Israel. And when I did the interview with Brian of London, he said he was as worried about conventional ballistic missiles as he was about nuclear missiles, because if they overwhelmed the system with thousands of conventional missiles, there'd be a problem. So I would honestly recommend that you watch this dramatized documentary. Or it's not really a documentary. It is a fictional film. It's very good. It's very tense. When I watched it, the ending is the ending of this is different to the ending in Annie Jacobson's book. So if you've read Annie Jacobson's book, you'll have an idea. There we go. So we've got Sky Saber. I will go and Google Sky Saber. I'm not confident that the Brits we've got this covered, to be brutally honest with you. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. And they could have this superb missile defense system that means we don't have to worry about any kind of nuclear attack from Russia, China, or some crazy little rocket man in North Korea. But I think what I thought about this was, we need to pray that this doesn't happen. you know, as Christians, and obviously I know God's in control, and God's on the throne, and God has preserved us as humanity for this long. But I think the title of that film, House of Dynamite, makes very sense. And what they're basically saying, that the whole world order is like living in a house made of dynamite, and only one fuse needs to be lit. And this could happen by accident. This is why I've always been so worried about the war in Ukraine. I have zero time for Putin. I think he's a total wrong, and he's a gangster dictator. But I think we've got to pray about this, and we've got to pray that the Lord protects the world from these nutcases. I mean, to me, the ideal situation is if we've got this Sky Saber or whatever it's called, that we make sure that our missile defenses do actually work. And there's all sorts of stuff that people are doing with lasers and so on and so forth. But yeah, one will always get through, and one getting through is, and of course, back in the Cold War, they had suitcase bombs, and you know, whenever the Berlin Wall came down and Russia collapsed, the Russians kind of lost a couple of suitcase bombs. Pakistan have got nuclear weapons. India's got nuclear weapons. Pakistan having nuclear weapons really worries me, because Pakistan is very, very unstable. Look what's happening in Bangladesh. Obviously, it's not Pakistan, it's East Pakistan. Is it East? Yeah, East Pakistan. But Bangladesh is in big trouble. Pakistan's in massive trouble in terms of unrest, jihadists, and yeah. Old film I have on DVD, The Time Machine, Rod Taylor. I'll try and get a look at that, actually. I think the Civilization in the Future have Eloy and Morlocks. That is probably, you know, I think all these old films are definitely worth watching. No, it is. Do you know what? The thought of nuclear war is terrifying. When I was a child, you know, I got big involved in the punk scene when I was in my sort of mid-teens, well, sort of 13, just for a couple of years. And one of the things that I really liked about, you know, these sort of anarchist, I mean, we're talking Antifa, right? I mean, basically, I suppose what I was involved in when I was about 13, 14 morphed into Antifa. I realized pretty quickly it was a load of BS, but they were very much into the anti-nuclear stuff, and I've never changed my mind on that. Even when I was in the military, I was thinking, why do we even have these crazy weapons? So yeah, that's a very good point, Thomas. And there's a lot of scriptures that would allude to very modern weaponry, whether it's laser technology, whether it's nuclear technology, whether it's biological weapons. We don't know. There's a lot of stuff, you know. Do you know what? I think we should all really start thinking about AI and looking at AI and how dangerous that is as well. Now, I know this is a really heavy. Yeah, there's definitely sound. This is where I definitely know the sound this morning, because people are interacting with me. So if you haven't got sound, you probably need to turn your computer up. So yeah, check your mute button. But yeah, so this is a serious conversation, but I think it's a very, very real conversation. So to me, I think from a strategic point of view, whatever government comes into power next, whether it's advance or reform, or whoever gets the hot seat, or whether it's a poison chalice, will remain to be seen. But whatever happens at the next election, I think somebody needs to look at our missile defenses and find out how we can shoot this stuff down if we do get attacked. And at the minute, the truth is we really can't, and that is that. So I was going to show you a really horrible video of a nuclear bomb going off, but I'm not going to do that, okay? Because it's Tuesday morning and people are getting ready to work, and I don't want to depress people before they go to work. And the reality is, and somebody said it already in the comments, despite all this, right, God is on the throne. Despite AI, despite nuclear weapons, despite biological weapons, despite all the threats to humanity, God is on the throne, and God's in control. And if you're a believer and you're trusting in Christ, you don't have to fear. You really don't have to fear if you're believing in Jesus. Sorry. I'm in my 60s. These are the most depressing times, and the future feels worse. Things could get worse, but again, I think we've got to keep going back onto it. God is on the throne. God is on the throne. So scrambled. Is that eggs? Scrambled eggs? Are we talking about there? Or scrambled fish, Darren? Yeah, Wormwood. Yes, it talks about the about that wormwood landing somewhere in the sea or something, isn't it? I think. And again, there's all these new things that they're doing in the sea. Yeah. So look, I mean, the reality is, I think it's worth talking about these things, but at the same time, it's also not worth panicking either. Yeah, it's Revelation 8:11, Wormwood, and the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. That's Revelation 8, verse 11. Now, again, how do we interpret that? Who knows? Who knows? Dr. Strangelove, actually, I love that film. I thought that film was a complete parody of nuclear war. And I am going to do a spoiler alert on this because probably nobody in this chat's going to watch Dr. Strangelove. But as the nuclear bombs are dropped from I don't know whether they were B-52s or whatever they were. I think they were old propeller versions of the B-52. And one of the American generals gets so enthusiastic he actually grabs onto the nuclear weapon and goes in with the bomb, if I remember rightly. But Dr. Strangelove, Peter Sellers, comedy film, parody on nuclear war, well worth watching if you get the chance. You won't lose me. I'm a formidable hobbit from Liverpool. Do you know what? That's the thing. We're all hobbits as well, and we're all hobbits and men of Gondor. And we've got orcs in our midst. We've got the Chinese with probably all sorts of biological weapons. We've got AI to contend with. We've got nuclear war to contend with, but we're still here. Oh, also the film shows the Eloi are like our young people. They don't read books, etc. And he takes 3 books from his time to start new. Oh yes, the Book of Eli. Yes, I like that film with Denzel Washington. Good film. I have the Hobbit foot. Yes, if you got hairy feet, guys. Now a little bit of a lighter note. Let's listen to Banana Mahmood. Now I haven't listened to this, so I'm going to go through this and I'm going to stop it as I go. So this is Banana Mahmood in Parliament yesterday. If I don't even know if I can listen to her. Do we want to listen to Banana Mahmood's statement from Parliament yesterday? What do you think? Or do we just bin that off and look at what ITV's putting out about the far right? No note. Is that a note of Banana Mahmood? No, let's bin Banana Mahmood off. Let's look at this little propaganda piece about the dreadful threat from the far right.
Far right propagandists.
Matthew Gravel.
Last night, we exposed one of Britain's leading far right propagandists.
Matthew Gravel.
His name revealed for the first time.
I am being racist today.
Our undercover investigation helped us unmask a neo-Nazi.
I am an ethnocentrist. I believe in supporting and advocating the interests of my people,
who used to work at Buckingham Palace.
I worked for the royal family.
Matthew Gravel.
Tonight, this assessment by the former head of...
I'm not being funny, guys, but this guy, he really doesn't look like a dangerous terrorist. Now, he's probably got some really disgusting views. In fact, it seems like he certainly has got some very disgusting views. But I've never heard of this guy. Not that I should, because I don't move in those circles. But he looks a bit like sort of, I don't know, a middle-ranking civil service administrator. He doesn't look like someone that's going to start carrying out all sorts of horrendous acts up and down the country. But Who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong, but this is the typical deluded panic that the mainstream media put out. When was the last time that the mainstream media did a major expose on what's happening in the mosques, in what's happening with the Islamists, in what's happening with the far left, with the real far left, with these Antifa scumbags that are attacking police officers? Anybody knows me, has watched my videos. I have no time for white supremacists or real Nazis. I despise them as much as I despise the left, and they despise me. And that's always been my position. It's always been Tommy's position. But let's have a little listen to what these people are saying. And this guy here, that's the head of counterterrorism, obsessed with the imaginary far right, absolutely obsessed, like Hope Not Hate. I forget his name, but you know, it's let's just have a look.
British Counter-Terrorism Police.
See, choosing to run, choosing to blur your image, knowing full well that what you're doing is wrong in a decent society. But I hope to God my successors are monitoring people like this.
Gravel is linked to 2 fascist groups, neither of which are prescribed. But he travelled to Texas in September to meet with the leaders of America's white supremacist movement, his face deliberately concealed when images were posted online. This transatlantic alliance, a key shift in the way Britain's far right works.
I think what's changing with the nature of the far right threat in this country is it's drawing support from abroad with a very powerful group in America that has a voice and a big movement in America. That's disturbing. That's a new elevation of the threat. We'd seen some level of European and American cooperation or willingness to speak to each other, but we didn't see a sort of sense of an organised. You wouldn't have seen a person like this in the centre of a major American organisation. So that is disturbing.
Your trip to America, what were you doing with the likes of Thomas Rousseau and Rob Rundé?
Having conversations.
About what?
Various topics, my friend.
Using language like calling you sir and my friend to try and, you know, soften.
So that's obviously a new terrorist tactic, calling people my friend. Now, like I say, this guy is probably just some weirdo incel, right? Who knows? He does not seem to be sort of the charismatic leader of the new Nazis that everybody should be worried about. But you see, what the state are doing is they're demonizing everybody on the right of politics. So when people look at this, now I'm surprised. Normally what they do when they make these little clips is they put Tommy in there, or they put Reform in there, you know, so they try to demonize people who are genuinely centre right, and in some cases not even centre right if you think about Reform. And yeah.
What is the approach of an ideology of white supremacism is pretty disgusting.
White nationalism.
Are you a neo-Nazi?
I wouldn't use that label. I'd say I'm a nationalist.
Right, okay. I mean, a lot of people would use that label.
A lot of people don't like me because I'm white.
I'm just supporting my people who are on the verge of extinction. I'm not a terrorist. That is a classic white supremacist underlying ideology that lies behind a lot of the right-wing terrorism that we dealt with. I've spoken to a lot of people my age who feel like we're back as children in the 70s and 80s when we were openly vilified in the streets. And if we're going back to feeling as vulnerable as I did as a child, what does...
Now, I think what this guy, I think he's called Basu. Again, I believe these people are race baiting. I genuinely do, and it's very interesting that there wasn't a lot of diversity in the people that were publishing this piece. Let's just say that, and I don't care what skin color you are. I genuinely don't. But what this is doing, this race baiting, we see it every day on Twitter. We see it all the time from the Islamists, constantly screaming racism, constantly screaming Islamophobia and white supremacy. And what they're doing is they're demonizing everybody. Now, this guy is probably an absolute little weirdo, right? If he's going out and meeting neo-Nazis, I can think of far better things to do with my time and money than flying out to the States to meet with white supremacists. However, in a free society, he should have the right to do it in the same way that if an Islamist wants to fly out and meet some Islamist people in Pakistan, as long as he's not planning to blow up the country, he has a right to do it. But the problem is that they're creating a monster where there isn't one. And what this will do, and this is what happened around Southport when you had mobs of predominantly Pakistani Muslim men strutting around northern towns, beating white people up that were walking home from work. This is how the lid gets blown off. And this is how you end up in a scenario similar to what David Betts is talking about. And these morons don't see the stupidity that they're actually feeding the monster. They're feeding the crocodile themselves. And I find it just absolutely ridiculous.
What does that mean for people like me? You know, a 57-year-old British person, but a second-generation immigrant born to an immigrant father. At what point will somebody decide that it's okay to try and repatriate me?
I don't think black people take their back. I don't like their culture. I don't know the way they behave. I don't know the way they act. It's not their skin colour, it's them.
There is more than just racism. Some recruits were drawn in by the fitness and fraternity. But for Basu, it's social division that makes Gravel's groups even more appealing.
The United Kingdom has become a very polarised society, and particularly over the last 10 years. And we are split. And, you know, there is an economic problem, and there is, on top of that, a mass immigration issue that has been highlighted very much by right-wing politicians. And in dealing with that, that is absolutely the background for helping radicalisers like this particular individual tell white people that they are being driven to the point of extinction.
This is gaslighting on a massive scale, because the reality, demographic change is an absolute reality. It's happening in front of our eyes. Mass migration is a reality, and for reports like this to go out, you know, that it's actually the inverse of what it's saying that it is, because what you've got there is two coloured men basically, I think, almost stirring up racial hatred, saying that people, indigenous people of the UK, do not have a right to be worried about demographic change. I'd like to say our country was the least racist country probably on the planet, and I think still is. But we have a right to say that we don't want the future of our country to be Dear Bandy, as Tommy said when he was doing a couple of his interviews recently. And I need to speak to him about that, because I need to find out exactly what this bishop said to Tommy about MI6 telling this bishop that the future of the UK, MI6 or MI5, telling this bishop the future of the UK was Dear Bandy. What does that mean? Is there any validity in that statement that the bishop made, or was he just trying to, you know, be clever or smart or whatever? Farage seems to have an idea that the future of the UK is Islamic. Now, I've got a mixed race grandson. My son is married to a beautiful girl from the Philippines. Okay, so I am not interested in skin color. I'm interested in Christianity and the Christianization of the country, the re-evangelization of the country. That's what I'm interested in, which if people come from Nigeria and re-evangelize our country, I'm quite happy with that. And I know this will be clipped by the far-right dribblers and they'll put it out all over the place, but I don't care. If an evangelist comes to this country from Africa, whether he's black or white, and starts preaching the gospel and millions of people get saved, including Muslims and Hindus and Sikhs and everybody else. I've got a lot of Jewish people that are becoming Jewish Messianic Jews that I know personally. That's a fantastic thing. So I don't care about original background, skin color. If somebody genuinely comes to Christ and becomes a man or a woman of God, or a child of God, a person of faith, then that is how we can actually save our country, spiritually and physically. That's how we can stop a civil war happening. That's how we can change everything. Absolutely. And this is where we've got to resist this race baiting by the media, because I've seen that policeman before. I think his name's Basu, if it's the same one. I think he's Basu. And he's a bad piece of work. He's a definite, in my opinion, he's a wrong one. I've heard his rhetoric. He's not interested in Islamic terrorism. Doesn't seem to be. His obsession is the far right. You could hear him talking about the National Front of the 1970s. Now, again, the National Front were vile, in my opinion. And, there's people I've met since we've been doing the movement that were in the National Front back then, and they would agree with me. So I've no time for neo-Nazis. I've no time for this young guy with the glasses that looks like Penfold. Looks more like he should be working for Hope Not Hate than some sort of far-right agitator. But the truth of the matter is that the only solution to all the country's problems, as I started this stream, and every political problem, the answer is found in the Bible. I genuinely mean that. Everything that's wrong in this country, the solution is the Bible. And when we move away from the Bible personally or as a people, we move away from the solutions to the problems that this country's facing. Right. Okay, let's play the Men of England. Let's play the Men of England, because I haven't played that yet this morning. I want everybody. What I want everybody to do, if you like what I'm doing on a morning 5 days a week, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to download the Men of England song, because I do want. If most of you probably done it already, I do want to get the Men of England to #1 for Christmas. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll have a big, massive push on it coming up to Christmas. But download the Men of England song. In the description of this video, there's PayPal links. There's ways that you can support me and support the channel. If you want to support the channel, feel free to dive on there. And any support is massively welcome, because obviously doing this takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to prep the videos and so on and so forth. And we're getting a bit more. I think I'm getting a bit more professional, and things are. There we go. We've got loads of people have downloaded it. Loads. I'm going to have to check with the record company, because they haven't given me any reports on what's happening. But I know it was at number 28, I think, in the download charts. I am Jews for Tommy and openly promote Tommy and United Kingdom. Robert, that's fantastic. And whenever I come to England, there's a Jewish friend of mine. I stay at his house, and we're as one. We're all as one. I mean, the working class Jewish people of our country think exactly the same way as we do. The working class Hindus, the working class Sikhs, the working class atheists, the working class Christians, we all think the same. And we all know that the major problem our country's facing is Islamization and communism. It's not what colour your skin is. It really isn't. The Men of England were nothing without the ladies of England. Absolutely, Merlin. That's brilliant. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that they removed Christmas from the Christmas trees. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Right, let's find the Men of England here, guys.
Those heroes brave and bold, where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? when rape is so depraved, took the daughters of our nation who forever they enslaved. What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Police and vice squad, they all seem quite amused, as at the hands of rape gangs our daughters were abused. The politicians blame the lads who stood up one and all, but most of all blame Tommy, who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. Truth whose honor wasn't sold. Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. This morning. I said, where are the men of England? You're here! You're here! You're here!
Right, guys. Now, this one is really going to trigger everybody, and I'm gonna read what Dave Atherton's put on this little post on Twitter, and then I'm going to play the video. But this one is really going to just, I think, really get under everybody's skin. Okay. From David Atherton. David Atherton's a journalist. If you don't know Dave, he's a great guy. Really, really good lad. He's been, he was, first time I met Dave was we had a meeting about how we were going to move forward with the movement. This is where Unite the Kingdom, the pledge, and probably Advance to a great extent came out of, even though Ben wasn't at the meeting. But so I'm going to read this. If you're a British-born Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and Arab, or I should probably say Arab, you'll get special treatment from Cambridge University. It's an online program to get a better application, meet current students, and have a stay to experience campus life. So here we go, guys.
Are you a British Bangladeshi, Pakistani, or Arab student currently in Year 11? Are you a British Bangladeshi, Pakistani, or Arab student currently in Year 11? And do you want to know more about how to get into the Uni of Cambridge?
If so, Click Cambridge has a free program that might be perfect for you.
Several colleges have teamed up to offer Click Cambridge. We offer an online program which helps you to submit a better application, and you also have the chance to meet several current students, like me.
There is an opportunity for you to attend a free summer residential here at Magdalen College, so you can experience what student life is like.
If this appeals to you, you can visit the Click Cambridge website and complete an application form.
Applications close on the 15th of December. Best of luck.
Are you a British, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, or Arab
there you go, guys.
There
you have it.
And do you want to know more about how to get into the Uni of Cambridge?
There's in this dreadful, racist 1970s National Front country that we live in, according to Rohit Khatru and I think his name is Basu. If you're Pakistani, there's no racism at all. In fact, the racism is the other way. If white people, please don't apply for these special privileges. And this is what annoys me. And this is where the genuinely far right people who are a massive problems, who are a massive problem, are going to feed. They're going to be in a feeding frenzy off this sort of stuff. It is. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And there we got old Ahmed Yaqub, Better Call Afzal. Oh no, this is Nadine Ahmed. I'm being told by the far right Tommy Robinson fans to pack my bags, leave the UK. I was born here. This is my country. I'm not going to. Nadine, nobody's telling you to go anywhere. What people are saying is we don't want Islamism rammed down our throats. So if you're there with your Free Palestine fist, solidarity for Palestine, all that sort of stuff on your timeline, then it would suggest that actually you probably don't love the UK as much as you think you do. But again, you know your own heart. You know what you're about. So here we go. So this is Oxford Union. They managed to stop ex-Prime Minister Olmert from Israel from speaking at the Oxford Union. Now, Olmert was an old liberal, lefty, completely. There was a war when he was Prime Minister. He completely messed it all up. This is when he Prime Minister of Israel. A lot of people died in Lebanon under his watch. So he's not exactly Netanyahu. And by the way, I'm a great fan of Netanyahu, so that's not attacking Netanyahu. But yeah. And then we go on about, then we see more from the Houses of Parliament. The government should be ashamed that its migration policies are being cheered on by Tommy Robinson and Reform. Well, I haven't seen Tommy Robinson cheering on government migration policies. Maybe I've missed something. But let's have a listen to what this, again, young lady, let's just say, has to say.
Denmark-style policies briefed in the last couple of days are dystopian. It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course.
She's talking about unimaginable trauma. Unimaginable trauma. What about the unimaginable trauma that Rhiannon White suffered when she was murdered by some scumbag that broke into our country? She doesn't care about that person. She doesn't care about people who are being murdered. What about Wayne Broadhurst, who is a hard-working man out walking his dog, butchered by an Afghan? She doesn't care about those people. And this is what's feeding racism. This is what's feeding the extremes on all sides. These scumbags in Parliament that are creating and stirring up racial hatred by their rhetoric. I'll be honest with you, I don't care about people coming in from Afghanistan that have broken into our country, that have come across on a rubber dinghy. I want them gone. I want the Sudanese, the Afghans, the Pakistanis that are coming across the channel, the Albanians, the Libyans, whoever they are, that are coming across the channel, the Syrians. I want them gone because they're coming here illegally. They are criminals. And I don't care where they go. We've got Ascension Island. I'm sure we could send them to one of the Falkland Islands where there's nobody living, and then let's see if the Argentinians want to invade when we've got loads of mobile phone shops, Turkish barbers and kebab shops on East Falkland, and some lovely curry, because apparently curry built Britain. No, this is ridiculous, and these people, these race baiters, are the ones that are causing the problems. Not some stupid little incel in his bedroom who's flown out to America to meet with some Nazis. Yes, he's not the sort of person that we want anywhere near our movement. But the problem is this sort of garbage coming from I don't know whether you call them far left anymore. I don't even know what these people are, what they believe. I think they're just professional race baiters, to be honest with you.
It's not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, I'm disappointed at the nature of the question from my honourable friend. I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms. And what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem.
And again, from what I could see from Banana Mahmood's policies, that the 3 countries that she's targeting to and threatening to ban people coming from are all 90% Christian countries. I covered this yesterday. Oh, guys, look, you know, I mean, I don't want to end this on a sort of negative note. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end it. I'm going to play another little song, because I think we like getting a bit of music and some nice music. I'm going to play another little song, and then we'll play out on this. But I think that the truth of the matter is that we're no nearer to having curry isn't Indian anyway. Oh man, you threw your flip flop at the TV again. That's a very Arabic thing to do. Throwing your shoes at people. Do you remember that when something, I can't remember what it was, when Bush went to Iraq and he went before the Parliament and somebody threw a shoe at him. He ducked pretty well. He took evasive active pretty well. Oh man. Zoom in on that pendant she's wearing. It's satanic, right? Okay, I haven't seen that. We'll have a look at that. So let's have a quick look, see if we can zoom in on that. Okay, let's have a look. That's as far as I can zoom, I think, guys. No, I can't really see what's happening with that. Anyway, enough of Banana Mahmood. Let's remove her from the stream. And let's play out on some music. But I think we get the picture that I don't want today to be a depressing, you know, negative day. We've talked about nuclear war. We've talked about the far right. We've talked about migration. We've talked about race baiting. So let's end on a positive. And as we said at the very beginning, remember, God's on the throne. God is on the throne. Doesn't matter what's happening. Doesn't matter what's, you know, don't look to the right or the left. Set your face like flint. And remember, join Advance UK, sign the pledge, download the song, and let's make Britain great again. So let's get one of these songs in here. What have we got? I think we'll play this one. I think I like this one. It's nice and chilled. Thanks for that, Claire.
Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. They also do no iniquity. They walk in his ways. Thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently. Oh, that my ways were directed to keep thy statutes. Then shall I not be ashamed when I have respect unto all thy commandments. I will praise thee with uprightness of heart when I shall have learned thy righteous judgments. I keep thy statutes. Oh, forsake me not utterly.
Well, there you go. That hour goes in ever so quickly, and thanks everyone for do we say tuning in or logging on or logging in, and I hope that was quite a heavy one this morning. And you know, again, I think we've got to talk about serious things. We've got to look at serious things. We've got to look at what happens. You know, what the threats are, not just to the UK but to the whole world. But again, I think it's very, very simple. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. We've all been through, I think, a lot of people in this chat, a lot of people in our movement, a lot of people that I know personally have been through a lot of trial and tribulation over the last few years. And there's an answer, and the answer is found in that book. That's where the answer is. That, you know, all the problems that our country's facing, all the problems that we're facing, all our failings and weaknesses and sin and everything else that just wrecks our lives and wrecks our families' lives, everything that we're facing. And I think one of the things that I'm thinking about more and more is we need to take our faith seriously. We can't be playing with this stuff. We've got to be very, very serious. And anyway, guys, listen, great to see everybody. Great to chat to everybody. I hope everybody's going to have a great day, great rest of the week, and we'll do it all again tomorrow. See you soon, guys. God bless.